I photographed everything from cheetahs mid-sprint to bull elephants facing off in the dusk. But nothing in the wild prepared me for what happened that afternoon. My name's Eli. I'm 43 years old, based in Flagstaff, Arizona. I make my living as a wildlife photographer. Not the Instagram kind, but the kind who spends months tracking snow leopards in Mongolia or waiting for a jaguar to blink in the Amazon. That Saturday, I was supposed to have a chill afternoon. Tara, my fiancée, had asked me to pick her up from a brunch at her friend Serena's house. They were planning some sort of safari-themed honeymoon party. I figured I'd wait in the car, maybe scroll through camera lens auctions or catch up on some editing. But when I texted I was outside, Tara came out all smiles and said, "Hey babe, come in for a bit. We're just finishing drinks. Serena wants to meet you." So I went in. Serena's place was a Pinterest dream. Plants hanging from every corner. A brunch is a lifestyle sign near the coffee bar. And 6 women, Tara included, spread around the couch and bar stools, half drunk on mimosas. I smiled, nodded, said my polite hellos, and sat beside Tara on the arm of the couch. They were going over decor ideas for the party. Zebra print linens, gold palm centerpieces, some DJ who did jungle house music. I sipped on a weak mimosa and tried to laugh along. Then it pivoted. One of the friends, the one with the huge engagement ring and a tone like she managed people for a living, said something about her fiancé wanting a prenup. Everyone groaned. That friend rolled her eyes. Like I'm dying to steal his PS5 and Spotify playlists. Another chimed in, "Yeah, I'd be offended. A prenup is like saying you're planning to break up." I felt Tara shift beside me, and before I could say anything, she raised her voice with a laugh and said, "Oh my God. Yes, Eli brought up a prenup once." I told him straight up, "I'm not marrying a man who acts like I'm going to steal his camera gear when we split." They all burst out laughing. Tara kept going, louder now like she was performing. "I mean, what's he protecting? Bird photos and dusty tents? Like I'm gonna sell his memory cards on eBay." I just stared at her. She knew how much my gear meant to me. Not just the equipment, which was easily worth over 60 grand. Some of it custom-built or irreplaceable. But the body of work, the library of images that were my life's work. And now she was reducing it all to a joke in front of 5 people I barely knew. I didn't laugh. I set down my glass. "I'm gonna head out." Tara looked up like I was being rude. "Oh, come on. Don't be dramatic." I gave her a small nod, not trusting myself to speak. I walked out. I don't even remember if anyone said goodbye. I didn't even turn the radio on during the drive home. It was only 20 minutes from Serena's place to my cabin. But every second of that silence was filled with Tara's voice echoing in my head. "I'm not marrying a man who acts like I'm going to steal his camera gear when we split." Said like it was hilarious. Like it was nothing. She knew why I brought up the prenup months ago. It wasn't about distrust. It was about clarity. About protecting the work and gear that had taken me 2 decades and 7 continents to build. My equipment wasn't just stuff. It was my livelihood. Some of those lenses weren't even replaceable anymore. I had explained it to her in plain terms back in January. We were on the couch, fireplace crackling, and I had the draft open on my laptop. "It's not a statement about you, Tara," I had said. "It's just business. This is my business." She had nodded then. She didn't love it, but she hadn't fought me on it either. But today, she'd mocked it, mocked me. I pulled into my driveway, killed the engine, and just sat there gripping the wheel. My hands felt tight, my throat tighter. I had been with Tara for 4 years. We met at a gallery showing in Sedona. She was warm, ambitious, funny in that direct, cut through the BS way. And I fell for it. We had memories, road trips, cooking disasters, that impromptu engagement in Glacier National Park, when a mountain goat literally photobombed me proposing. I loved her, but now I couldn't stop thinking about how quickly she turned it into a punchline. Inside the house, I walked straight into the office. I knew exactly where the draft was. Top drawer, red folder marked pre-wedding. I pulled it out and sat at my desk, flipping through the pages slowly. I'd worked with my attorney to keep it clean, fair. I wasn't hiding anything. The document outlined which assets were mine, gear, archives, licensing contracts, my backup drives, and which shared property we'd build after marriage. It was practical, honest, and now it felt pointless. I set the folder down, picked up my phone, and texted my lawyer, Marianne. Me, can you talk tomorrow? Need to reverse some things. Wedding's off. She replied 2 minutes later. Marianne, of course. I'm around 10 to 2. Want to come in? Sunday morning, I was in her office by 10:30. She looked up from her tablet as I walked in, coffee in hand, hair still wet from her morning run. Hey, you all right? I sat down and told her everything. From the brunch invite to the camera gear joke. I didn't cry or raise my voice. I just laid it out line by line like I was reading a field report. When I finished, she leaned back and nodded. So she made it clear in public that she sees the prenup as a threat. Not even that, I said quietly. She made it clear that she thinks the work I'm trying to protect is a joke. Marianne didn't flinch. Then you're making the right decision. Want me to start with vendor contracts or the county clerk's office? Both. We went through the checklist, venue, caterer, travel bookings. She pulled up the timelines, the cancellation clauses, the refund percentages. I sat across from her, watching the future I had planned start to unravel. And weirdly, I didn't feel devastated. I felt focused. Clear. Like the moment I finally see the animal in the viewfinder after hours of waiting. This wasn't about a single joke. It was about what that joke revealed. By Monday morning, I had a Google sheet open with tabs for every vendor and every dollar spent. There was something oddly comforting about treating it like a shoot checklist, methodical, precise, emotionless. Venue? I had booked it under my name. Cancelled. DJ? Deposit non-refundable, but I ate the loss. Decor? Cancelled with a single email. Photographer? A buddy from Colorado, I texted him myself. Plans changed. Appreciate your flexibility. Shuttle company? Cancelled. Safari-themed cocktail tasting? Gone. Every vendor had my signature on file. Tara had wanted the party to reflect our journey, the leopard print invitations, the travel-themed drink names, even the campfire Esmores bar. But I was the one who'd paid for 90% of it. I wasn't trying to be vindictive. I just wanted a clean cut. No loose ends. No shared bills, no chance of overlap down the line. By mid-afternoon, I sat down and drafted a single text to Tara. Me. You were right. No need to marry someone who questions your intentions. The wedding's off. That was it. No blame. No explanations. Just the truth, the same way she'd said her piece in front of her friends. I powered off my phone right after hitting send and slid it into the drawer beneath my desk. For the next 48 hours, I let the silence do its job. Emails started coming in from the vendors confirming cancellations. Most of them CC'd both me and Tara. Her inbox was probably lighting up like a Christmas tree. A few included refund summaries. Some simply said confirmed. One venue coordinator responded with a polite, "Best of luck to you both, sorry to hear plans changed." By Tuesday morning, her friends started texting me. I didn't read them, but I saw the previews flash across my laptop screen. Maya, "Hey Eli, is everything okay?" Tara's freaking out. Rachel, "M, is the wedding canceled?" She just got 3 refund emails? Serena, "Please tell me this is a mistake." I closed the messages. Let them sit there unread. I wasn't trying to punish anyone. I just didn't owe anyone answers. Not after what had been said. By the end of the second day, I had wiped our shared calendar, deleted the wedding website, and taken down the honeymoon fund link. I filed every receipt into a folder labeled closed. And through it all, I didn't hear a single word from Tara. No call. No apology. No explanation. I imagined her sitting in her apartment, watching the party she had planned disappear email by email, realizing that I hadn't made a threat. I had made a decision. Because it wasn't just about a party or a prenup. It was about finally recognizing the difference between someone who sees you and someone who only sees the version of you that fits their story. And I wasn't going to be the punchline again. By Wednesday afternoon, I turned my phone back on. The moment it powered up, the screen exploded with notifications, voicemails, texts, missed calls. Some were from Tara. A few from her friends. One from her older sister and a surprising number from unknown numbers I figured were mutual guests who hadn't gotten the memo yet. I sat on the edge of the couch and let them pour in. I didn't reply. I didn't even listen. I just watched the unread count rise, like tally marks in a notebook I didn't want anymore. By evening, I got the one call I didn't expect but somehow knew was coming. Jim Landry. Tara's dad. I stared at the screen for a second before answering. I hadn't spoken to him directly in months, but we got along fine. He was a retired wildlife biologist who'd worked for decades in conservation. We'd bonded early over a shared obsession with big cats. He was one of the few people in Tara's circle who didn't treat my job like a hobby. Eli, he said, his voice even but strained. Can we talk? Sure. I just got off the phone with my daughter, he said. She's hysterical. She said the wedding is canceled and you won't return her messages. That's correct. He sighed like a man who wasn't surprised, just disappointed. Mind telling me what happened? I told him. Calmly. No anger, no dramatic flourish. Just the facts. The brunch. The joke. The prenup comment. Her brushing off my exit in front of her friends. I told him how I'd already walked her through the prenup months ago, how she'd nodded like she understood. And how, when given an audience, she turned it into a punchline. There was silence on the line. Then he muttered, "Damn. I'm not angry, Jim," I said. But I can't marry someone who sees my life's work as something to be laughed at in front of others. No, he said quickly, you shouldn't. And I'm not here to argue with you. That surprised me. He cleared his throat. That comment, the gear thief line, that wasn't just a joke. That was ugly. I didn't raise her to mock someone's boundaries like that. Especially not in front of a room full of people. She's not a bad person, I said. She's not, he agreed. But she's used to getting the last word. And when she's uncomfortable, she tries to own the room with jokes. It wasn't just a joke. I know. I let the silence stretch for a beat before asking, did she tell you about the prenup when we first discussed it? She mentioned it, he said. Didn't seem thrilled, but I told her it was smart. So she knew what it meant. Yeah, he said quietly. She knew. Another pause. Then he added, I'm sorry. For what it's worth. I appreciate that. She's not used to people walking away. Well, I said, maybe it's time she learns. He didn't disagree. We hung up without any big declarations. Just a quiet acknowledgement between two men who understood how something subtle could also be something defining. I stood in my kitchen afterward, watching the last of the day's light spill through the window, and I felt steady. Not relieved. Not angry. Just steady. Because no matter what came next, the weight wasn't mine anymore. The museum lobby was quiet when she walked in. I had just finished adjusting the last placard under a framed photograph of a pair of snow leopards. The exhibit, Eyes of the Wild, had opened 2 weeks earlier at a natural history museum in Phoenix. It was one of the biggest solo showings I'd ever done, featuring 24 large-format prints from the last 8 years of my work. Tara stood near the entrance, wearing a coat too light for the weather and no makeup, which wasn't like her. Her eyes scanned the lobby until she found me. She didn't look angry. She looked undone. Eli, she said softly, stepping forward. I stayed where I was. I've been trying to reach you for a week. I know. She stopped about 6 feet from me, hands clasped like she was holding herself together. Can we talk? Just privately. I glanced toward the side corridor. My assistant, Leo, stood near the storage room, watching from a polite distance. A couple of museum staff passed by, pretending not to notice. Here's fine, I said. Say what you need. She blinked, clearly not expecting that. I messed up, she said. I know I did. I didn't respond. I thought I was being funny. I didn't think it would land the way it did. She took a shaky breath. And I was trying to sound strong in front of my friends, but it came out wrong. I didn't mean it. You meant it enough to say it that loud. She flinched. It wasn't about the prenup. It was. I don't know, pressure. Everyone's been talking about weddings and money and expectations, and I felt like I needed to push back. I wasn't trying to humiliate you. You didn't just humiliate me, I said, my voice low. You dismissed what I do. What I built? She stepped closer. I don't want to lose you. But you already did. Come on, she whispered. It was one comment. No, I said. It was the one that showed me how you really see me. You didn't disagree with the prenup. You waited until you had an audience and turned it into a punchline. That wasn't nerves. That was clarity. Her eyes welled up. Eli, I'll sign it. I'll sign whatever you want. I don't care. But I care, I said. Because signing it now, after all this? That's not agreement. That's fear. And I don't want to marry someone who signs a contract just to stop the bleeding. She shook her head. You're walking away over this? I'm walking away because I finally see how far apart we really are. She stood there, crying quietly, not the sobbing kind, but the kind where the tears fall and you can't stop them, no matter how composed you want to be. My assistant tried not to stare, but everyone noticed. Tara was dressed too nicely to be anonymous. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out my phone. I opened the rideshare app and ordered her a car. I'm not leaving like this, she said. You are. She looked around, suddenly aware of the people, of the silence, of the reality settling around her. I still love you, she said. I nodded. But you don't respect me. That's worse. The car arrived. I walked her to the door. When she turned to look back at me from the car window, I didn't move. I just stood in the lobby of my own exhibit, surrounded by images of wild things that lived with more honesty than most people ever do, and watched her leave. It started with a group text. Maya, hey, would you be open to dinner this weekend? Just to talk. Rachel, nothing dramatic. Just some clarity. For everyone. I ignored it for a day. Then came a more personal one. Serena, Tara's not okay. She's not trying to win you back. She just wants to explain. Please consider meeting. I stared at my phone, thumb hovering over the screen. My first instinct was to delete it all, block the numbers, move on. But I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I responded with a time and place, a small Italian place near downtown, one I used to go to after shoots. Neutral ground. Quiet. No wedding vibes. They came in together, Maya, Rachel, and Serena. No Tara. Rachel got right to it. We're not trying to pressure you. We're all trying to understand what happened. I nodded, folding my napkin. It's not that complicated. Tara told a room full of people that the idea of a prenup made me look like I thought she was going to steal my gear. Then she laughed. Maya leaned forward. She was embarrassed. You brought up legal paperwork and it made her feel like you didn't trust her. I brought it up months ago, I said. Privately. Respectfully. She nodded. Didn't love it, but she agreed to look at it. And then at brunch, she turned it into a joke. Serena sighed. She panicked. We were all joking about prenups. It just snowballed. I took a sip of water. You're all calling it a mistake. I'm saying it was a revelation. They looked at each other. She was nervous, Maya tried. She gets sarcastic when she's stressed. It wasn't meant to hurt you. That's the point, I said. It didn't hurt me because it was loud. It hurt me because it was honest. Rachel leaned back. What does that mean? It means people don't accidentally say things they don't believe. Not like that. Not in front of people they're trying to impress. Serena hesitated. Okay, but if it were reversed, if a man mocked a woman's prenup in front of his friends, wouldn't you say he just got flustered? I looked her in the eye. No. I'd say he revealed that he didn't believe she had anything worth protecting. Or that he saw her concerns as a threat. Silence. Rachel exhaled. I'm going to be honest with you, Eli. If I were you, I'd be worried too. If my fiancé made fun of something that personal, I'd think twice. Maya nodded slowly. Yeah, same. They looked tired. Like they hadn't expected me to be calm. I set down my fork. Look, I appreciate you coming. But I'm not confused. I'm not angry. I'm done. This isn't a miscommunication. It's a misalignment. We just didn't want things to end this way, Serena said quietly. They didn't, I said. They ended the moment I realized she didn't take me seriously. And I'm okay with that now. I paid the bill. They didn't argue. We all walked out into the night like strangers who used to know someone in common. And I never heard from them again. It had been 3 weeks since I turned off the wedding. Tara hadn't tried to contact me again since that day at the museum. The text slowed, then stopped. The mutual friends went quiet too. The only sound left was the wind out in the desert and the soft clicks of my shutter as I focused on a pair of nesting California condors just outside the Grand Canyon. They were what brought me out here, part of a photo assignment I'd accepted the same week I sent the final cancellation notice to the caterer. A field doc on endangered raptors funded by a small nonprofit. It was nothing glamorous. But it was mine. The days were long and cold. The hikes were brutal. But every morning I watched the sun rise over cliffs older than memory and I felt something loosen in my chest. One morning I sat on a ledge with my tripod, watching the male condor swoop overhead, carrying sticks in his talons. He dropped them gently into a rocky crevice beside his mate, one by one, in this clumsy, careful pattern that looked a lot like love. I took the shot. Then I lowered the camera and just watched. No ceremony. No declarations. Just two birds building something together, one stick at a time. That night, back at the cabin where I was staying, I opened my laptop and wrote Tara a short email. Subject, no reply needed. I hope you find someone who shares your view of what a marriage should be. I've already found my clarity. Eli. I read it once, then hit send. No dramatic closing. No punctuation-heavy goodbye. Just the truth. There were no tears. No second guesses. The next morning, I hiked out before sunrise. The air was so still I could hear every flap of the condor's wings before I saw them. The nest was nearly complete now. Rough, a little uneven, but solid. It wouldn't win any design awards, but it would hold. And that, I realized, was the point. Partnership isn't about flair. It's about foundation. It's about who will stand next to you in the cold with their feathers ruffled and still bring you another stick without needing applause. I raised my lens again and took the photo. No captions. No audience. Just me, the wind, and the quiet understanding that I hadn't lost anything. I'd walked away from a wedding, but I'd protected a lifetime of work, a future of purpose, and a version of myself I actually liked. And out here, beneath the open sky, with no one watching, I didn't feel alone. I felt free.